Okay, now let's proceed to the subtopic of this discussion, which is the quantifier. So we already know that when a variable are assigned with values, it becomes a proposition with a truth value. However, there is actually another way to create a proposition from a propositional function, and we call it the quantifier. So quantification is another way to express or to create a proposition from a propositional function. It expresses the extent to which predicate is all true over a range of elements. So basically, ang purpose ni quantification or ang use niya is that quantification always assume that all of the variables, the subject, the elements are all true. Okay? True daw talaga lahat. So, quantification uses these English words. We have all, some, many, none, and few. And we have two types of quantification. We have first the universal quantification and then the existential quantification. Okay, let's start with the universal quantification. So it is represented by this symbol here, the upside down A. It means for all. So, itong universal quantification, it tells us that a predicate is true for every element under consideration. So, ibig sabihin lahat ng mga variables involved in a statement, if you're talking about universal quantification, all of those variables or elements are true. So, the universal quantification is represented by this form. Yan. Yan ang form niya. So, A here is the symbol of the universal quantification. And then, etong X at saka may parang letter E at saka D, this indicate that X here is an element of a certain domain. Okay? Or X is in a certain domain. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng domain dito or itong letter D? A domain can actually indicate a certain group or a classification that has a member, an element, or a set of values. So, for example, ng domain is cell phone. Yan. So, what are the kinds of cell phone? Kinds of cell phone, let's say, let's put mga brand. So, it can be iPhone, Realme, Samsung, Sony, Huawei. So, those are the element of our domain cellphone. So, yung mga kinds of cellphone na yun, yung mga brand ng mga cellphone na yun, yun ang X natin. And of course, itong P of X is our predicate. So, how do we read this form? It can be read as, for all X in the domain, Px is true. So, let's have an example. Okay, in my example here, kulang to ng greater than X. So, it should be X plus 1 is greater than X. Okay, so for example, let's form the universal quantification and identify the truth value of X plus 1 is greater than X, where our domain consists of all real numbers. So what we're going to do first here is identify natin yung of course, it's universal quantification, so we're going to use the symbol upside down A. So, alam na natin yun. So, universal quantification A. Now, let's identify saan ba dito yung domain natin. So, it is indicated here. The domain consists of all real numbers. Consists of all real numbers. So, real number. So, a real number can be any integers or any positive or negative integers. So, alam na natin yon. So, let's represent those integers as x. Okay? So, therefore, we can write here, for all x, which ang x natin dito is any integer which are real numbers. And then, let's identify the predicate. So, punta tayo dito sa x plus 1 is greater than x. And of course, we can identify here that our subject is the variable x. And then the remaining parts of the statement, which is plus 1 is greater than x, is our predicate. Therefore, we can conclude that our universal quantification for this example is for all x real numbers, for all x of integers in the domain of real numbers, p of x is our universal quantification form. So, I'm going to write here p of x. So, yan ang form ng example na to. Now, let's identify the truth value using this statement here, x plus 1 is greater than x. So, alam naman natin na yung predicate na is ito, di ba? P of x. So, we can represent or set a value para ma-identify natin yung truth value ng statement. So, mag-assign tayo ng value sa x natin. So, what are the values that we can assign? Of course, any integer, which is a real number. So, let's say our proposition will be p of 1 and then p of, okay, wait lang. Let's say p of 1, p of 2, and then p of 3. So, let's assign each of these integers sa x natin. So, magiging, let's try with the first proposition. Our x will be 1 plus 1 greater than 1. So, 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. Is 2 greater than 1? Yes. Therefore, the truth value of our proposition 1 is true. Okay. Now, let's go to proposition 2. So, our x here is 2. So, this is 2 plus 1 greater than 2. So, 2 plus 1 is equals to 3. Is 3 greater than 2? Yes. So, the truth value here is true for the second proposition. Now, let's proceed to the third proposition. Our x here is 3. So, this is 3 plus 1 greater than 3. So, 3 plus 1 is equals to 4. Is 4 greater than 3? Yes, it is. Therefore, the truth value of proposition 3 is true. And if you're going to try pa with other real number, no, all of the truth value of each proposition that you can generate are all true. Therefore, the truth value of this universal quantification of this statement is true. Okay, the truth value, this is true. Yan. Okay?